In the first half, I showed you how to play the play cards with the money ball game. Now I'm going to show you what I like to call goat street ball. And the difference is, you don't have to do so much math, and all you need is a coin. You don't need dice. You could lay things out exactly the same, but this one may take a little more time, but it requires less math, and as long as you have a coin in your pocket, you can play this anywhere, anytime, with anyone. Nevertheless, we've got our two captains, Goatson and Jorgoat, and they need to put together new teams for the second half. So we'll deal to both. And try and assemble the best teams for each player. So what we get to start with is two centers, a power forward, and a shooting guard for Goatson's team. Now, despite the fact that he's a red player, we're going to have a mixed match of colors as regardless. No, what we'll do is we'll keep the red center, even though he's a number 3, he's red, and that's going to be our majority color. And we'll discard the number 2 center from the blue team. We'll keep the number 1 power forward. That's pretty great. And we'll add the number 5 shooting guard. Ideally, we would have a better shooting guard, but those are the breaks. And on Jorgoat's team, we have both the number 5 center and the number 2 center. We've got the number 4 and the number 5 small forward. We'll go with the better numbers in both cases. We'll go with the number 2 center of the 80s and 90s and the number 4 small forward. That's a pretty good combination right there. So we only need one new player for Goatson's team. They don't get what they're looking for. And we need 2 new players over here. We've got a point guard, that's good. And now we have a decision to make. Are we going to keep the number 1 small forward, even though he's off the majority color? Or are we going to keep the number 4 small forward and try and reduce our initial points because as many players as possible are on the same team? So let's say we would rather make the certain points in the first 22 minutes of the second half than keep him in hopes of scoring a few in the last 2 minutes. So we're going to get rid of the number 1 small forward of the odds and tens. And so we'll deal cards to each team again. They really lucked out over here. They got themselves yet another small forward for a complete team. And over here, we traded the number 1 small forward of the odds and tens for the number 3 small forward of the odds and tens. Not ideal. So now what we need to do is the math. As I explained last time, 5 points for each player not from the majority era. Also, 5 points for each player in a duplicate position. They have a complete team over here. And so we take that 5, we add the team's rank totals, 10, 15, 18. We subtract that from 75. 75 minus 18 is 57. We add that 57 to the existing 66, and this killer team already has 123 points. This team, it's not looking great because there's 20 points already there. Then we go 6 and 4, that's 10, so 30 and 33. We subtract that from 75 in order to get 42. 42 and 57 is 99, and it's mathematically impossible for Jorgoat's team to catch up with the superior distribution of Goatson's team. Nevertheless, to show you how to play out the hand, we'll play some plays. So again, let's start with the team that is losing on offense first. And they're going to come out strong right away with their main scorer. And they'll go straight to the mid-range shot. For defense, this team isn't even concerned. They'll just let the shooting guard defend the shooting guard, even though their ranks are so dissimilar. And now all you have to do is calculate. The calculation is quite simple. You take the rank plus the position number for that play. In this case, both are 0. And what that means is, since the offensive number, 1, is one, I need to flip 1 head before I flip the defensive number, which in this case is 5, before I flip 5 tails. So this is just about who's first to their number. So, and only the offensive coach, or the offensive team flips. So I'm going to flip, and I'm using a Canadian toonie because it's cooler looking than American coins. Trying to get 1 head before I get 5 tails. And I get heads on the very first flip, and that's 2 points for the Jorgoats team. And they make their way up to 101. At least they break the 100 mark. And they're going to keep hammering at offense because they're the team in deficit. And so why not go with your strongest play again? We'll go to the post. And this time, the Goatson team just isn't in the mood to let scoring happen. So they send out their defensive master, even though he's a power forward. And that means that the center is a +0 on the post, so the offensive number is 2. The power forward is a +1 on the post, but because the power forward is already a 1, that means that the defensive number is 2. So now, when it comes to the flips, if I flip 2 heads before I flip 2 tails, then Jorgoat's team scores 2 points. But if I flip 2 tails before I flip 2 heads, then Goatson's team gets the stop. So let's see how it turns out. Tails, so it's 0-1. Heads, 1-1. So this is the deciding flip. And it's heads again. 2 points for Jorgoat's team. And the unclosable gap is closing slightly. So now we got to keep up with the offense, and the matchups are starting to look less advantageous. We've got 2 small forwards. They are drive specialists, so let's bring out the better ranked one first. They're a +0 on the drive. And again, lack of patience is such that the Goatson team doesn't want to give away any points. They send out their equally matched small forward to defend. Both are +0 on the card, and both are number 3 ranked. So we need to get 3 heads before we get 3 tails to score. Heads, so it's 1-0. Heads, 2-0. Tails, 2-1. Tails again, 2-2. And once more we come down to a deciding flip. This coin decides whether they score or are stopped. And it's tails. Goatson's team gets the stop on 2 very evenly matched small forwards. So now, out of a bit of desperation, let's say, Jorgoat's team just wants points. So they send in their small forward, but they're going to have him shoot a 3. Not ideal for that position, but they want the points. And they expect that Goatson's team will save their point guard to defend the point guard, and they're correct. Goatson's team sends out the number 3 center. Actually, Let's not do that, because the way you should be playing if you're playing solo is always play the mathematically best play for your opponent. So the mathematically best play here is to send out the number 1 point guard, because it's a 3, regardless of who's offensive. So the number 4 small forward is a 4, plus 2 is a 6, and the number 1 point guard is 1, plus 0 is a 1. So in order to score, I need to flip 6 heads before I flip 1 tails. Seems like an unlikely prospect, but let's give it a shot. Tails. So the stop has already happened. No points. And we come down to the final play. The point guard is going to shoot the 3 again. The center is going to defend, because that's the last remaining defender. The point guard is plus 0, the center is plus 4, so we have an offensive number of 3 and a defensive number of 7. So in order to score, I need to flip 3 heads before I flip 7 tails. Shouldn't be too difficult. Heads, 1, 0. Heads, 2, 0. Tails, 2, 1. 2, 2. 2, 3. And 3, 3. Jorgoat's team scores, and although they could not catch up, finished the game 123 to 106. And there you go. That is the street ball version of the game of Goats Play Cards.